Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Mark Miller, and this is my weekly video update sharing insights and advice about public relations and communications. As always, if you have any questions or would like to learn more about my services, visit markmillerpr.com. Today, we have a guest joining us to talk about the importance of clear, professional writing. Everyone knows how important it is to write effectively and professionally, so we'll address that today with our guest, Mike Long. Mike Long is a longtime professor at Georgetown University, where he teaches PR writing, speech writing, creative writing, and a few other things. He created the original writing curriculum for the graduate program in public relations there, and was director of writing for several years as well. He's the co-author of a new book on behavior, The Molecule of More, recently the #2 audiobook in the nation and #10 nonfiction bestseller. On top of that, he's a playwright with more than 20 shows produced on New York City stages. He began his career in the hard sciences, doing physics and mathematics, before a decade-long career in science and technology, then switching over to writing and speech writing, where he wrote for senators, CEOs, and 4 presidential candidates. I think it's safe to say Mike keeps pretty busy. So Mike Long, welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Oh, Mark, thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
Great to see you as well. So before we get into the questions I have set up for our interview here, I'm excited to announce that Miller Public Relations will now be offering writing seminars with Mike Long, providing even more options for our clients. So if you're looking to schedule professional development or training for 2021, you should definitely consider the training sessions Mike offers as you're looking out at that calendar. So with that in mind, I want to jump into a few questions here so that folks understand, what those training services are that you offer. So to start off, what formats do you offer your instruction in? Is this in person, remote, large groups, small groups? Tell us a little more.
Well, I'm glad to. And Mark, thank you for bringing me on this way, not just today, but as partners in this business to be able to offer this to the people who come to you, and for me to have yet another way to reach out to the public. So I'm grateful for that. And there are some things that Mark's going to do in my universe too. So we'll be talking about those as time goes on. The fact is that this year has made it possible for us to sort of perfect a lot of outreach that we couldn't do before. If you need virtual training, we can do it. If we need it in person, we can do it. It's always a lot more fun in person, I think. But if you're trying to cut back on expenses, it's easy to do it online. Everybody has the equipment now. Mark and I certainly have the equipment. We've invested in it on our end, so we're happy to do it that way. As for the length of these seminars, it really depends on how deeply you want to go, what your needs are, and what your topics are. I find that a lot of people who run a shop, even a small shop, want to spend just 2 or 3 hours drilling down on ways to improve the product going out the door. That's stuff that goes out on behalf of clients, like press releases and op-eds, even speeches, things that go out as more of a B2B kind of thing. We're talking about memos, we're talking about emails, and of course, social media, which is a whole different kind of writing. Now, we can do this over the course of, as I say, a couple of hours or over a full day, depending on how much you want to drill down, how much interaction you want. Now, just to sort of move one step beyond that, we can also do assessment, and we can find out exactly what we need to be teaching if you're not sure. So there are a lot of opportunities here, and I hope you'll reach out to us and talk to us about it. Everything is custom made. I've been doing this all over the world for years now.
That's perfect. So it sounds like you can really create a bespoke experience for whatever a client's looking for.
Either that or I'm an incredibly articulate salesman for nothing. I don't know which one it is. No, I do know. I'm making a joke. Forget I said that. No, I've had a lot of success with this. I really enjoy doing it, is the truth. And Mark knows this to be true. And if you have a serious need to improve the writing that's going out your door, we can make a difference. Not with, here's something that's written well, copy this, but start doing this. Stop doing that. Here's a template for this document. Here's a template for the press release. Here is a way to build a paragraph. Here's a way to line edit. Here's a way to work with your own writers to edit them more effectively. So you'll leave my stuff with absolute point-by-point correction, instruction, direction that you can put to work that day.
That sounds very useful. So you've been teaching folks how to write better and how to be better writers for years now. What would you say the most common reason is that people seek you out or want to improve their writing? What are the biggest reasons you see out there?
They want to stand out in the marketplace. Whether you're a business or whether you're an individual, the one that gets the work after you get their attention is the one who can do it better and faster than everybody else. When it comes to writing, there's a whole lot of feeling about feeling, a whole lot of sense that, well, it sounds right. Well, I'm out to end that. I want people to look at it and know that it is written well. And the only way to know that is to be able to say, here is what this kind of document requires. Here's what we want to happen afterwards. Like, I'll give you an example. A lot of people say, I'm going to write a speech. And the first question is, what do you want the speech to be about? That's totally the wrong question. Mark knows this. It's totally the wrong question. The first question you ask is, what do I want the audience to do after it's over? Not what do I want them to think or believe. What do I want them to do with their arms and legs? Do I want them to write a letter? Do I want them to choose an account of some kind? Do I want them to attend an event? To vote? What do I want them to do? So once you get past this idea that feeling is what matters when you're trying to or feeling in topic, and what really matters is what do you want people to do? That's what your clients are paying you for. They're paying you to affect change in the real world. And this is true not just for speeches, but also for press releases, op-eds, and anything else, fact sheets, anything you can name. And that's the thing that makes people stand out as good writers. They get the job done. And it begins with asking what the job is.
I think that's hitting the nail right on the head. What do we want people to do? And that's getting the job done. That's assessing what the job is. So as I'm hearing all this, it sounds like a great opportunity to get someone to come into an organization who's written for presidential candidates, CEOs, to teach us how to write better. And so I know you talked about this can be scaled to a half day, a full day, but in a full day training session, for example, how many topics are you able to cover? Is that something where you could split press release writing and speech writing, or stack up topics, or what's the general pace that folks should assume that they'd be able to work at when retaining your training program?
I'll tell you a typical day. It's not every day, but it's a typical day. They often begin like this. Let's assess what it is that you do when you go in to write. Now, I'm not talking about a touchy-feely kumbaya discussion. I'm talking about if you're going to write successfully, it has to start here. You have to have a certain attitude about it. And that attitude incorporates the things that I've been talking about so far, about why are you doing this? What do you want to achieve? So we talk about the processes in place already and how we might interject these ideas, this method into it. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you're happy with your process, or if you need me to analyze the process, which I've done many times, then we can do that. But generally, we begin with how does this idea fit into the process you have now for producing documents? The next thing we do is we go through particular documents. A press release we can usually do in about 2 hours or so. Speeches, typically that's a whole day, sometimes longer if you want to go deeply into it for a whole staff of speechwriters. But after we go through a document or two, and those documents can be things I have ready to go, or I can analyze documents you have and incorporate them into it, then the balance of the day moves to specific writing tips. That means how to improve paragraphs, how to improve structure, how to build according to structure. So it's a 3-part day in most cases. We begin with 30, 45 minutes of setting the stage for how the process works, longer if we need it. Then we talk about specific documents, anywhere from a letter to the editor is about an hour, a press release is about 2 hours, longer for other documents. And then we move to this other category of how much can we cram in before the time runs out of ways to make you a better writer in everything, how to structure paragraphs, how to structure documents, how to structure your day when you're writing things.
So again, options there, but depending on the topic, that's gonna determine how many of those topics you're able to hit.
Right, because the goal is, what do you want? You know, if you don't need training, I'm not going to tell you you need training. If you do need training, I'm going to tell you what I think you need. And I want to understand what it is that you're lacking. Where do you think your documents fail? I'm working with a philanthropy right now, and they do a lot of work in the digital space, a lot of that online things. And we spend a lot of time every week. We're working on learning to write the hook for these social media posts. Because, you know, one of the things that when we wrote Molecule of More, my partner in this, Dr. Dan Lieberman at George Washington, one of the things we came across with this idea we're hardly the first, but we called it experts disease. When experts talk, they want you to know everything they know. And it's the same thing when you're writing social media posts. You know the concrete details, you know them, and you would love to just hold forth on it. But that's not the point of social media. The point of social media is get their attention. And once you have their attention, you can proceed. So we spend a lot of time talking about how this problem works in various things. Whether you're trying to share, you know, an article that you like, or an article that you authored, or you want to sort of pay tribute or acknowledge, do the hat tip for some supporter of some kind. You want to get the boss's name in there. How do you do these things? Well, all those things are subject to critical, clear analysis about how such a post begins, continues, and ends. And this is the kind of analysis we'll do.
Absolutely. So to sum it up for everyone watching today, I've been a student in your classroom years ago, and I absolutely know the value and believe in the value of what you teach. So could you help explain that attitude briefly to wrap things up for our audience before we go?
Yeah, I guess I could. I think I can. I got to tell you, you kind of caught me off guard. I know it in my heart, but to say it out loud, I'll see if I can do it. I don't believe in wasting people's time. And I think most writing education is for the birds. It's about, here's something that's well written. Let me tell you how I came to that. Let me tell you how I feel about it. I don't care how you felt about it. If I analyze your work, I'm not going to tell you how I feel about it. You shouldn't care what I feel about it. You should care what I know about it, what I can explain to you mathematically, if you will, precisely, specifically, according to the rules, and there are rules of strong writing. So my philosophy has always been, first, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Second, give you actionable items you can take away today. And third, tell you why those actionable items work. So they stick with you. You're only going to remember them if you understand why they work. And so you can spread the word. So you can edit other people's stuff and say, change this, not because I like it better. Change it because this works better, and here's why. I had a student about the same time I had you, Mark, and she told me about she had used the Oxford comma, and somebody came up to her, a boss, and said, you know, maybe you remember this story. She had said, the boss had said, you know, you shouldn't use that comma like that. And she said, yes, in fact, this is called the Oxford comma, and let me tell you why it makes it clearer. And she proceeded to explain. That's the kind of moment you want to be able to have, not to rub somebody's nose in. And I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying having the confidence to know that you're doing it right and why you're doing it right. Nothing beats it. And this makes you stand out in the marketplace. If you're the writer who can do that, you're going to work.
So throwing out the concept of taste and preference and going to quantifiable right and wrong.
Right. Taste isn't the concern. I like to enjoy what I read, but just because it's not my taste, not the way I would put it. I had an editor when I first started writing, this has been many years ago, and he would rewrite everything I did. And for a couple of years, I don't know why I didn't quit, because I thought, well, I can't do anything. But he was just changing it because he was using my stuff as reportage and rewriting it in his own voice. Well, that's not cool. And it just discouraged me. And you're discouraging your writers if you're not, with all due respect, if you're not giving them explanations, you're discouraging your writers unless you tell them why you're changing it. And that why is more than because I like it better this way.
I agree 100%. So I think that's a great place to leave it. Mike, thanks so much for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing everyone again next week. Until then, you know how to reach me with any questions or need for services, especially as we talked about today, training seminars with Mike Long. So again, Mike, thanks so much for joining me, and hope you have a terrific day.
Thanks.